and then maybe like a decade ago, came out with the first, full ZMF headphone in the Atticus and the Icon, and now his journey has returned back to the world of planar, and I'm so excited it did. I was pretty geeked when the announcement about these came out, and that I just think I personally prefer planars in most cases to dynamics, at least in the world of open back headphones. And I'm also pretty big ZMF fanboy, and you'll see I think I've reviewed every production ZMF headphone until these most recent announcements of the Caldera and the Atrium closed. Video coming soon, or maybe already released. Anyway, look for it on the channel. But yeah, I was pretty excited to see like what, with that lineage of sort of getting into headphones, modding, T50RPs, and then that ZMF sound and that craftsmanship that I really enjoy and a lot of others do. I was just excited to see what these headphones are all about. And I spent a couple weeks listening to them, and I've got some impressions to share. So a couple just speeds and feeds worth considering, right? So these are 60 ohm. Most ZMFs are like 300 ohm. But these are a little bit less efficient in the 95 dB region. And so these do take, in my experience, they did take relatively substantial drive to get them to perform at the level that really impressed. What's pretty cool is that ZMF is offering a lifetime driver warranty, which is kind of incredible. Like, they don't have hundreds of thousands of units in the world where they have a sense of failure rates and like what that cost implication is. They're saying this is a brand new driver for us, but we believe in it and we're going to guarantee it for life, which is pretty shocking if you think about the world of manufactured goods. It's expensive, $3,500, and that puts it in the territory of a lot of well-established and well-loved large open back planars. You've got the Auto Z series, like the LCD-Z 4Z and the LCD-5 and the LCD MX4. You got the Meze Empyrean and Elite. You got the HiFiMan, HE1000 V2 and SE. Final Audio D8000, Dan Clark Audio Expanse, Abyss Diana V2. I'm sure I'm forgetting some things. The point is, it's a crowded market space. Like, to come out at that price with this headphone, with this format, and say, we're going to go against some of these like very large non-boutique manufacturers and compete is a bold move, and I applaud them for it. And it's also the most expensive ZMF. So the Verite and the Atrium were the top of the line at that $2,500-ish price point, more with like special editions and crazy woods. And now this thing's like almost a third more expensive. So there's a lot of things about this that are a statement piece and a level of growth and accomplishment for the brand that are pretty exciting when you think about the overall story. Cool. There's a lot of preamble, man. How's the thing sound? Sounds awesome. I was not disappointed. I've been privileged enough to listen to a lot of very expensive planars, and there are things that others do better, but there are so many things about this that I just fell in love with and really enjoyed. Like, from the minute I put it on, I'm like, yep, that's a ZMF. Like, it has that sort of natural, familiar, maybe slightly V-shaped presentation, maybe a little bit of that mid bass that's so satisfying. It just, putting it on, it just felt comfortable in terms of its actual ergonomics, and in terms of the sound that I was hearing, I was like, yep, that's right. It's got body. Like, notes are just fully fleshed out. You just get the sense of the resonance of strings. You get the sense of the fullness of vocals. Things feel solid and sculptural, and just like you can trust in the sound, if that makes any sense. There's this album, I think it's called Sparks, by I'm gonna get it wrong, like Ludovica Breton. She's a violinist, I think maybe out of New York, and she's just got she mixes in all kinds of interesting sounds. She's all over the map with like jazz and experimental stuff and pop stuff, and that album I just kept going back to while listening to these, because these headphones really checked all of the boxes. When they needed like pop and energy, they did that. When they needed romance and drama, they did that. When they needed like twanginess, they did that. When they needed to be full and heavy and weighty, they did that. So I was really impressed to see how versatile this headphone was and how it brought such an enjoyable listening experience across so many different moments. Here's a little inside shot. You can see a nice little carbon fiber here. What can you learn about the driver? I don't know. It looks cool. It's shiny. The wood, of course, looks good. I don't know what these are. I should know that, but I don't off the top of my head. You can look it up. They have a website. What else? Oh yeah, bass just has nice impact and believability. The timbre is just so good, so natural, not forced. And it's just got heart. It's just toe tapping. It's just one of those like you just go in and you're in the music again, and you're not like analyzing the headphone. It's so hard. Like, having heard so much stuff, it's like hard for me not to analyze. So when I'm just hearing it and just rocking out, jamming, whatever, that to me is like a definite sign that I'm on the right track. So if you think about it in the context of some of the many competitors that I mentioned before, I think there are some things that you will respond well to, and some things that maybe other offerings might be more aligned to what you prefer. So I don't feel like you get the highest fidelity of micro detail that you can get out of some other headphones in this class. Now, that's a tricky one, because I think as I listen more and more to things, I find that a lot of that comes down to the leanness of the sound. Obviously, the technical ability to produce the details, but also when you sort of lean out, when you thin down a sound, when you make it more of that sort of quote unquote hi-fi sound, I think more of that little crackly detail pops out a bit more. And so sometimes it's not necessarily that there's more or less detail. It's just that when you thin down the sound, you're going to get that more pronounced. So that's not to make excuses or anything. I do think there are some headphones that are going to bring you more little tiny nuanced details. But this is a very detailed and resolving headphone. It's just not a microscope. If you want a microscope headphone, I don't think this is the headphone that's right for you. And shout out for sticking with the consistent ZMF, this isn't proprietary to them, little mini XLRs, so that if you already own ZMF stuff, you already own cables, you can recable this headphone. It's fantastic. This headphone does hit harder than other headphones I would compare it to, and it's got some depth in its bass that I really like. I like the bass because I feel like it's very honest and believable. Like, a kick drum is a kick drum. It's not bloated. It's like some ZMF stuff is like the bass, the rumble get kind of like exaggerated in usually a fun way, but again, a preference there. I felt like this was sort of neutral in the bass, in that it was striking that balance between giving you that hit without like pushing the rumble factor unnecessarily and making it sort of a little bit unbelievable at times. I think the signature is a bit fuller, a bit richer. You get this really great sense of ambience that you don't always get with other headphones in this class. Maybe it's not as energetic as some of the competitive offerings. So if you like something that's really like poppy and like jumpy and feels like, you might describe it as like fast, or there's like, I don't know, like there may be other things that are the better fit for that characteristic, but it does wake up a bit when you give it a little more juice. I found the listening level where it just really got lively was like a touch above my optimal listening level, but your mileage may vary depending on how old your ears are. What else? And you might not get as much of a sense of separation between elements as you do with some, like I said, sort of leaner styles of presentation. But you do have a lot of, I felt like space and layering, like staging was really nice in this headphone. So it's not a complaint about that. It's just more like if you really like I said, that sort of microscope, that sort of highly separated, highly micro detailed sound, then I don't like, there may be other things that are a better fit. We'll just leave it at that. Amping, I tried this on a bunch of different amps, handful of tube amps, a couple of solid state amps. I generally prefer tubes with it, but it sounded pretty good across the board. I will say that it does scale. So if I started on maybe a $500 or $1,000 amp, by the time I was up at a many $1,000 amp, there was definitely more coming out of this headphone. So I do think it is, as you would want in something at this level, that if you were putting better electronics in front of it, you are going to get a better result out of it. That's the case. Like, this will maybe not, it'll ultimately be a limiting factor, but probably the dollars you have to spend, don't really make it the limiting factor in your chain. Pad swapping. It came with these cowhides on it, and I listened to it for quite a bit like that, and then swapped over to the suede, did a suede swap. I prefer the suede. I think what I got was a touch of a cleaner sound, a little tighter, just a little, it's a little more deadened, so I think I could get, like, there wasn't as much smearing between things. Again, it's not a smeary headphone, but that was my preference. I think with the cowhide you get more energy, so maybe my comments about that sort of come back to this sort of separation and deadened versus bright and jumpy kind of nuance of the pads, and that's a thing that I've always really liked about ZMF, is that they're like, hey, we can't tune something perfectly for everyone's taste, so you all jump in, participate, try some different pads, see what works for your setup. So yeah, wrapping it up. Nice grill. It's kind of like concave, which is, you can see where the light keeps catching. It's interesting, and the patterns, very, very cool. The wood looks great. Yeah, I mean, it's competitively technical with the things in its price class, but I think it comes with a tuning that emphasizes musicality over sort of trying to demonstrate its technical prowess. And for me, that's a very nice package. I can't say there aren't better, more expensive planars out there. We always know there's, quote unquote better, especially technically better. In terms of something that I would be pretty happy to listen to all day, every day, enjoy, throw lots of different types of music at, and be satisfied pretty much all the time, I have very, few qualms here. And it looks nice, and I find the ZMF stuff to be really comfy, especially since they've been evolving their little pad tech and the comfort strap and stuff. So, the yoke and everything is very consistent with all their other headphones, which is nice because you get some economies of scale, and you can part swap if your little gimbals or whatever they call these things get scratched up or worn down. I think ZMF will sell you a little kit cheap. So I like that there are in the practical constraints they have as a small batch manufacturer, that there are also some really nice advantages to you as the consumer to customize and to maintain and to care for these sort of heirloom products over time. Is this getting a little gushy? It didn't mean to be a gush fest. I do really like this headphone, though. I think it sounds fantastic. And I'm going to put them down. I have to let them go soon, so it's hard to let them go, but I'm gonna walk away. This is Signcraft, signing out.